Hey ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the channel. As always, it is Nick here, back with your daily crypto news and analysis. And we have a lot to talk about when it comes to Hedera and Hbar, and I don't want to waste your guys' time. So with that being said, I hope that you were all having a beautiful day or a beautiful night wherever you guys are out there in the world. As we do look at Hbar, especially even in the all-time chart, and we go back to 2020 and 2021, everyone is anticipating something similar to this, but I ultimately believe that it is going to be like 2020 and 2021 on steroids this time around, considering the fact that the overall ecosystem has been booming. I mean, every single day we are now starting to see a major integration, expansion, or even just new use cases going live on Hedera. This entire year has been filled with update after update after update, and this is only just the beginning. But as we do look at Hedera and Hbar, what's something now that we have that we didn't have back in 2020 and 2021 outside of just the overall ecosystem? Well, it's also the listings. You got to remember that when we look at Hbar and we go back to 2020 and 2021, it was extremely challenging to buy Hbar. In fact, even myself, it was very challenging to buy Hbar. You had to jump through hoops and ladders to get into an exchange that actually had Hbar. Now, it's on Binance, it's on Coinbase, it's on Bybit, on OKX, it's on all of these major exchanges. That's very easy for retail to jump into and utilize. And remember, with Coinbase, they do have that area on there where it's trending coins, highest gainers, things like that, that the retail sector, although we hate to see it, they will flood in and jump in because of FOMO and ultimately get wrecked. But that's what happens every single season. So that's why we position ourselves before those big moves, where Hbar is basically chopping against the uptrend, or, down here where nobody wants to buy it because it's doing absolutely nothing. And that's why we take those, moments in the space as a major opportunity instead of looking at it as a bad thing. Now, as we do look at Hbar, right? You can't afford to not be a part of this Discord. You need to join the free Discord down in the description below, as well as in the comments below right now, to get ahead of the rest of the market with 24/7, 365 access to information around crypto, including insights, trades, altcoin gems, you name it. You need to be a part of this Discord. So what are you waiting for? Click the link down in the description below, as well as in the comments below, to join today. Performance-wise this season, not too bad, right? Up 184% currently off of the 2022 lows, and also up over 420% off of those lows to the recent candle wick. Now, do I believe that we are going to see this price again? 100%. Right now, we're having a little bit of a short-term pullback. Very similar to the previous moves, right? When you go back to the March timeframe, nice short-term movement to the downside, and then we had that nice pump, and even going back to December of 2023 as well. Technically, even going all the way back to February 2023, but this one was a long journey to the next big move, and even then we didn't break over it. So we were kind of just chopping and accumulating during this entire time, waiting for the big move to the upside. Now, as we do look at Hbar, I look at a lot of these other altcoins in the space that are very large winners. Listen, if we go back to the list over here, another thing that a lot of people always say about Hbar is the supply ratio. I personally don't think that the supply is bad at all. 71.5% of the supply is out there. Now, back in 2020 and 2021, did it hurt us? 100%. In fact, it screwed up everything. Well, we were anticipating much higher prices, and the supply release was ahead of schedule, and it really did screw us, if I'm being completely honest with you guys. But the good thing is that almost 36 billion of the 50 billion supply is already out there, which is 71.5%. And as we do look at altcoins like ADA, for an example, that have a very similar supply ratio already, I do believe that Hbar could very well be compared to ADA this time around, and ultimately be that major dark horse that becomes one of the largest gainers. And the significance of comparing ADA to Hbar currently as well is that if we go back to this time frame where, it was 2018 all the way into 2021, there wasn't a lot of activity on Cardano, just like Hedera, right? Like, when we look at Hedera, there is so much more substance than there was around Cardano during this time. Now, since then, has ADA had, major announcements and things like that? Sure. But back here, it's pretty much dead. But then we started to see everyone starting to talk about it because it started to gain momentum. And then that just was a network effect, essentially, of individuals buying it and moving it to the upside. Now, as we do look at Hbar, I also believe that we're going to have this similar move, right? Where we have something like that, except basically what I'm looking at here is, we had this nice big move to the upside. We have this long path here, and then we finally get that big expansion to the upside. It's the same exact thing with Hbar, right? I'm expecting us to have that similar move, at least to $1, right? We're still expecting just at least $1 here. But during this time, right, we're not watching Hbar just sit around doing absolutely nothing. No, during this entire time, so we're talking about roughly 749 days, during this entire time, we saw major updates, major upgrades, expansions, live use cases going fully operational, and ultimately utilizing the network at massive scale. Like, we saw all that during this time frame. So this was not a wasted time when it comes to Hbar. And I really do believe that it's time to capitalize on that. And it's only a matter of time until we start to see Hbar breaking out against Ethereum and even breaking out against Bitcoin. We are watching both of these charts very closely around the Discord, even on the channel, and even on X. Now, outside of this, let's talk about some of those big moves that were made this year to really kind of solidify Hbar's future in possibly the top 10. Starting with this one back in February, Hedera and Saudi Ministry forged a $250 million alliance to power Deep Tech Venture Studio. This was a huge one, and at that time we were like, all right, well, this was massive. There's no way that they're going to one-up this. There's no way that they're going to launch another major move like this, right? Well, we were wrong, because they announced that they were also taking over Qatar with a $50 million digital assets venture studio, and this was building upon that $250 million deep tech venture studio as well. And remember, this is all aiming to advance artificial intelligence, quantum computing, which I do believe is going to be the next big narrative around this space. We already know that AI is still booming at a almost $40 billion market cap, which is crazy, but it continues to boom. So I do think that it's great that they are looking at AI, but also quantum computing, virtual reality, and even more. And I think that these are very solid expansions that everyone needs to be focused on. And the reason why they are in, the Qatar area and even the Saudi Arabia area is because of the regulations and acceptance. In the US, it's very hard to expand, and in some other areas, it's also very hard to expand. But Hedera has been absolutely killing it outside of, a lot of these areas, even Australia, right? So, to me, Hedera's killing it everywhere, even in the UK. Now, outside of this, there was also that big announcement back in January of the $408 million worth of Hbar. It got approved for ecosystem growth. Now, a lot of it, also is going back to paying employees. But for the most part, I am very excited about something like this, because this also does provide a lot of volume and value to the actual ecosystem. This is something that is a big problem on a lot of the top projects in this space. We need, money flowing into the ecosystem to allow for, specific projects to be very successful. And even if you get, a couple out of 10, for an example, if I invested $408 million into 10 different projects and, 2, 3, 4 of them were successful, then that's a win. You're kind of just throwing money to the wind, hoping that it catches something. And that's exactly what this is. And so far, it's been very successful for Hedera, which I do believe it's going to continue to be going forward on as well. Now, also outside of just these integrations and also the massive amount of money being pumped into the ecosystem, we also have the integrations. For example, we talked a little bit about this, but it's Pyth, right? Following the integration of Pyth network with Hedera, the lending and borrowing gap in the Hedera ecosystem is being filled. And even when we look at this, right, like, these big moves where we're now integrating with these other major networks like Pyth, for an example, it's very, very successful for the overall network to advance and also bring in even more players. For an example, we have here that the launch of Pyth or price feeds and Pyth benchmarks is a major strategic development for Hedera DeFi ecosystem. Pyth Network offers an expansive suite of over 400 ultra low latency price feeds across cryptocurrencies, foreign exchanges, commodities, equities, and ETFs. Developers on Hedera can tap into these price feeds to power their smart contract protocols and decentralized finance applications. And what this ultimately does unlock is it allows Hedera users and even developers to benefit from continual access to the latest price updates. And this also allows for even DeFi to really become a big hit on Hedera like it already has been. Now, outside of this one as well, remember that just recently, as part of the DeFi Spring, which is also another thing that everyone needs to focus on, like this is also another ecosystem expansion for Hedera. They're really upgrading the DeFi space. They want to do DeFi 2.0 on Hedera as well. And so far, they've been killing it. We've launched a Galaxy Quest in collaboration with Axelar Network to explore the unique features of the Hedera network. And this is also another big one, right? Because Axelar Network is a giant in this space. We know that just recently they started to really kind of push the RWA narrative. And also they've been really pushing the XRP ledger as well. So definitely focus on Axelar Network. I'm pretty sure that they have a token as well. I think it's just called, I think it's just called Ax. Or yeah, it's Axel. So this is one of the biggest projects now within this space. And right now it's actually just brewing for a nice move to the upside. This is one that everyone should be focused on because of how big Axelar Network is becoming and what they're doing for a lot of these projects like Hedera or even the XRPL. Now, outside of this, also the C14 team. The C14 team now supports 20 plus Hedera token services through their on-ramp. This is also another big one. The C14 team, they're not like massive, but they have been around the space for a little bit of time. And this is only, building upon all these integrations, all of these expansions. And this is also perfect for anyone who wants to easily get Hbar and Hedera native tokens like Karate, Sauce, and even HUSDC with a debit or credit card, because this is on and off ramps essentially around fiat to crypto. Again, very beneficial for volume to push into Hedera. Now, also, we just saw this yesterday. We are excited to announce that the Hedera network has joined the Crypto Information Sharing and Analysis Center, a new association aimed at advancing security initiatives, enhancing trust, and driving adoption as a founding member alongside industry leaders in Web3. And remember that they just recently joined the DREC Association or Alliance with a lot of big players like Algorand, Ripple, Casper, and so many others. We are proud to stand amongst fellow founding members, Coinbase, Kraken FX, Solana Foundation, Offchain Labs, Alio HQ, Consensus, and so many others to collectively drive the global adoption of DLT through collaborative efforts to strengthen the Web3 ecosystem by sharing information, mitigating risk, and creating a trusted environment for all. And I love to see these things, right? Collaboration, it's so crucial. So many people are looking at this space and saying like, oh, this token's better than that token, or this project's better than that project. But ultimately what needs to happen is all of these projects really need to come together and start really focusing on the future around this space. It's not about just, oh, hey, this one's pumping better than this one, so I'm done with that project. I'm jumping into the one that's pumping, or whatever the case may be. It's more so about how are we going to forge the Web3 future? How are we going to make sure that crypto and the Web3 world is ultimately a $100 trillion plus asset class? Well, it's by coming together, building out solid applications, and driving global adoption. And that's what we're starting to see with Hedera and a lot of these expansions around these associations. And I really think that this is a very, very big positive thing. Now, also, last but not least, as we do look at DeFi on Hedera, TVL still sitting at about roughly almost $150 million, but I don't even care about that, right? As we look at volume on, in terms of DeFi, right? We're starting to see the volume still picking up. I mean, even if we go back to 2023 into 2024, it has been nonstop going up, and up. And this is very, very positive. This is a sign that DeFi on Hedera is being utilized in a very large way. Even stablecoin initiatives, right? And you can see this on all of on DeFi Llama. You can see pretty much, stable coins, how stable coins look on Hedera. This is starting to have a nice bounce to the upside. I also have core developers here. Developers are growing astronomically ever since roughly 2022. Also commits in terms of developer activity, almost 8,000 commits already in the month of May, which is insane to say the least. Hbar volume itself also picking up in a large way. Derivatives volume also picking up. Aggregators volume as well is also picking up as well. So we're starting to see a lot of growth across all the key metrics on DeFi, within the DeFi space, but also just around Hedera as well. And the big thing to really kind of just focus on is not even just TVL or anything like that. It's more so the core developers and the commits. This growing at this pace is a very, very good sign of what's to come. Because even if we look at a network like Ethereum, for example, and we look at the core developers and also even the commits and kind of compare and contrast both of these, first off, right now, Ethereum has about roughly 400 developers, almost 15,000 commits, which is very significant. But if we look at Hedera, we almost have 120 devs at some point in time we just did, and commits are almost at 8,000. So that speaks volumes when we're comparing it to something like Ethereum that has almost $130 billion in terms of TVL, and it is one of the largest projects in the space, sitting at number 2, and we're comparing it to something like Hedera that's sitting at number 28, and it almost has the same amount of core developers and even developer commits. That's a big thing to focus on, and it's something that's outside of just the price, the volume, and even just TVL. This is something that I'm really looking into, because this means that a lot more use cases are coming to the network, possibly, or even just upgrading things to make sure that we get to the point of having over $100 billion plus in terms of TVL tied to Hedera at some point in time. But these are the things that will lead to Hedera really kind of jumping into the top 10 and becoming a very large player, just like these other giants that are in the top 10. In my opinion, it's inevitable, right? I do believe that Hedera is going to take over in a very large way and become one of the largest projects in the space, because we can't see all of this growth. We can't see all of this activity and not have price follow through. Price will follow. It's a lagging indicator. We will get there, but I'm very excited about the future for Hedera and also even Hbar. And with that being said, guys, I hope that you guys enjoyed this video. If you did, definitely leave a like, subscribe, turn notifications on. If you guys do want more free content, you guys are more than welcome to follow me on Twitter and join the free Discord in the description below. And with that being said, guys, it's been Nick. Thanks for watching. Peace out.